Have you tried the new Pinpoint disposables yet? They're seriously smooth. They're so small they fit in that little coin pocket in your jeans. They're easy to use and they hit just right. And whether you're trying to chill or vibe or take things up a notch, these compact sized vapes bring the flavor and the effects without any hassle. Just grab one, take a hit, and you're good to go. They're perfect for when you're on the move or just kicking back, and they're definitely worth checking out. And if you want to check out more about Pinpoint vapes, check out pinpoint-extracts.com. Hi, welcome to Greenway Audio Magazine. I'm here with my host, Tim Pickett, and I'm B.E. Dunn. Today we'll be joined by Miles McKirdy, CMO of Agri-Genesis, a house of brands that includes Notorious, Willie's Reserve, and Farmer G, also Sunrise Dispensaries. And we're going to get into a little bit about the Missouri market, marketing, and what it's like to be Australian and love baseball.
Does he love baseball?
Oh, dude, he's such a huge baseball fan.
No way.
He's such a huge baseball fan.
Okay.
Oh, speaking of baseball.
What?
I came across the craziest thing the other day. I bought a hat because I was so into this.
What?
The Springfield Cardinals, single A affiliate for the St. Louis Cardinals. So minor league teams have all these crazy promotions, limited promotions and things like that. What Springfield has done, a lot of people don't know, Springfield, Missouri, birthplace of most people's favorite Chinese dish, cashew chicken.
Out of Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah, there's a whole Wikipedia about it and everything. So the Springfield Cardinals, for a limited promotion, will be known as the Springfield Cashew Chickens. and their gear for this, I hope you show a little flash up here.
You know I will.
Their gear for this is a logo that includes a takeout container with two C's that form an S, and a second logo that, similar to the birds on the bat, is a piece of cashew chicken in between two chopsticks with cashew chickens running across it.
Who needs a raise over there?
It's the absolute most ludicrous and yet at the same time very grounded in that community and the culture and identity of that community all at one time.
Love it.
Absolutely love it. I ordered the cashew chickens hat the other day. Super excited for it. Shout out to the Springfield Cashew Chickens. Feel free to send us additional merch for the merch wall. Send us posters to go behind Tim.
Yeah. Did you know, I'm sure you know, I've been seeing these dudes for the past few years, the Savannah Bananas. They're a semi-professional baseball team.
My kids love the Savannah Bananas.
Dude, I got to tell you, I watched their 60 Minutes little episode because that's what old people do. And since then, I've watched 2 full games. It is freaking awesome. It is so much fun. They just remix baseball, and it is non-stop. It's funny. It's a real game. These are real athletes. This isn't like toss it in there and, whatever. These are ex-MLB pitchers that didn't make it, pitchers that got cut, home run hitters. Freaking awesome.
And in some cases, guys that just haven't made it yet, because they've had a few guys that have been signed to, AA and AAA contracts and stuff because of it.
Fantastic.
The way I explained it to my kids the first time we watched it, which made no sense to them because they had not seen that yet. But to anybody our age, it's if you took the Harlem Globetrotters and had them play baseball instead of basketball.
Right.
It's the most fantastic show of athleticism and talent based around a sport.
Crazy.
It's amazing. And the rules are designed to get more interaction and more excitement out of very routine plays.
Do you know what the branding nerd in me freaked out on when I was watching the 60 Minutes thing?
The yellow uniforms.
Well, the yellow, the guy, the owner who wears a yellow suit and top hat, but he was saying that he had this team, and he had cameras on the crowd to see when people would get bored and start checking their phones. And those are the parts of the games that he fixed. And I'm like, that is freaking genius. Genius. So you watch this thing, and by the way, all their stuff is free on YouTube, but you don't subscribe to anything. All their games are free. And you watch it, and it is unbelievable. And now they're on this big tour. They're probably the only baseball game that's going to sell out Busch Stadium this year, unfortunately. But
Hey,
I know.
blasphemer.
I know.
Blasphemer.
But anyway, marketing, baseball, sports, all of our favorite stuff. There is one thing that I noticed the other day, buddy. Markets outside of Missouri. I saw this on CanDev, CANN.dev, CanDev. They have a list of the states that are transitioning from medical to adult use in 2025. I wasn't aware of some of these. And then we have the hopefuls. And you know who's on the hopefuls? Kansas. Right now they're on the completely illegal list.
Yep.
Which is so weird with that state line thing. You know, you step right across the street, throw you in cuffs. You know,
It's Kansas.
Go
let's
on.
just say it, man. Everything good about Kansas
Is on the Missouri side.
no leaves, man. They had Superman. They fucking bullied him until he left for Illinois. He's from Smallville, Kansas.
Is he?
Metropolis. Yeah, Smallville, Kansas.
Okay.
Metropolis is definitely Kansas City, if not either St. Louis or Chicago, because it's said to be a couple hours from there.
Yeah.
Dorothy, her whole family was
They got out of
mean
there.
and rude to her. She fucking tornado
Terrible.
whipped her up and took her out of there to Magic Munchkin Land, and that was, she was surrounded by people and witches and talking autonomous creatures and flying, and she was like, "This is better."
Hey, I was born in Kansas City, so I have a little leeway here.
Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri?
Oh, baby.
Yeah. I won't talk shit on Kansas
I won't
as an
either. entire
entire state because everybody that lives there already does that. But I will say that here's the best way I can describe it without like, because I was really trying to be a little humorous but non-offensive and stuff about Kansas. I don't know anything positive about Kansas. I know a couple of my favorite people are from there or live there.
Timmy Timeless.
Yeah. Joey P's getting ready to head back there.
I know. I'm bummed. I want him to stay here.
There's a legit, something about Kansas must be great because so many of the people that we like live there.
Sure.
But I cannot for the life of me figure out what it is. I've been to Kansas dozens, if not hundreds of times for concerts. I've been to Lawrence before. I don't really see anything special or unique or great about Kansas. They seem to be more restrictive on most things. I used to talk a lot of shit about Kansas City in my youth, because back in the, early 20 plus years ago, Kansas City was easily second tier to St. Louis.
100%.
And I think anybody that doesn't agree with that is just being a homer.
Right. Tides have turned.
Now it's the complete opposite.
Complete opposite.
I
we are the younger
St.
brother.
Louis. I still love St. Louis, but after spending a couple weekends out in Kansas City recently, here's the camera. Your roads are still trash, and I don't understand.
how to get anywhere. But your town is beautiful. Your people are
Downtown's
lovely.
amazing.
Everything there is growing up. Your casinos are so nice to me.
They have been nice to you.
They've been so nice to me. Kansas City is just awesome. They've got a sushi restaurant that has a robot serve you. Like, come on, man.
My half my family lives there. So when I was a kid, I would go out for coffee with my grandma, and we go to this place called Winchell's, and it had a tray. It had like a rotating like conveyor belt. So you would order something, they'd put it on it, and it would like go around the whole restaurant. It might have even been on a little train. Yeah, I think it was. And it would stop at your table. You'd take your food off.
I've been there before. So my ex-wife is a KC native, and she started trying to convince me like a decade and a half ago that like Kansas City was awesome, and I was just like, no. But I was wrong. And to be fair, she was kind of wrong too. At that time, like yes. it was transitioning. It was becoming better. She would always convince me that like Kansas City is just as good as St. Louis, and I'm like, no, it's absolutely not. Not only is Kansas City as good as St. Louis now, it's better in so many ways. Not even a little bit. Like I will full on sign on the dotted line on this. The fact that I personally can still have a great time in St. Louis. But if my kids are with me, like I'm as soon as it's like 8, 9 o'clock at night, I don't want to be downtown anymore. I'm nervous and on edge and stuff.
It's such a bummer.
Just because, like, not even things that are like overall societal problems. Like, you don't have a whole lot of other cities anywhere in the country where 70 small mini bikes are just running red lights for miles at a time. Like,
the traffic lights are optional downtown. I saw it twice last weekend. That is a true
St. Louis problem right now. Like that's not like, oh, these, Gen Zers and Gen Alpha, they don't get it. No. That's just St. Louis right now. Yeah. And Kansas City, I literally have been like, yo, where's your trash? Like, what?
It's so
why
clean.
Why are your roads
public
so
transportation
clean?
Oh,
like downtown, not the
yes,
highways.
Downtown for sure.
So yeah, I don't know. And Kansas City, Missouri, as great as it is, it's in Missouri. I don't know any cool shit in Kansas, and no one has yet to prove to me that Kansas has any like legitimate significance outside of college basketball, and I'm not a Jayhawks fan. So,
well, maybe if they pass recreational or adult use cannabis, things might change. But in the meantime, let's talk to Miles McKirdy. What do you say?
I love Miles McKirdy. Let's get that guy in here.
Let's get him in
first, Tim.
This 420 season, Vivid is bringing the heat with Scratch and Stash. Your shot to win big just for shopping. What do? Let me explain. You buy any Vivid, Buoyant Bob, or Missouri's own product at a participating dispensary, and you'll get a scratch-off card. You grab your little wooden nickel out of your pocket, scratch her off, 2 per visit, max, scratch, to reveal instant product prizes you can stash for your next trip in. But here's the coolest part. Every card gives you a shot at the grand prize, which is $10,000 in Vivid products, plus a chance to win a tour of Vivid's grow facility and $200 in merch. The promo runs now through May 11th, but cards are only available while supplies last. Find out where to play and enter your codes at showmeorganics.com/scratch-n-stash. Grab your goods, scratch the card, stash the win. Good luck. All right, welcome back to Greenway Audio Magazine. We are here with our special guest, Miles McKirdy, CMO Agri-Genesis. Miles, thank you so much for joining us. We are so happy to have you, buddy.
All right, guys, absolutely stoked to be on board. Really looking forward to today's conversation. And I must say, Mr. Dunn, very impressive sip of the coffee just before this interview kicked off. There's big
So
spoilers
professional.
right there.
So Agri-Genesis, we got Sunrise Dispensaries,
Yep.
which we got 5 across Missouri.
Uh-huh.
And then we have Notorious
Yep.
Flower. Now, you
Farmer G.
well, Farmer G and Willie's Reserve. Sorry, I didn't get there yet. I got too excited about Notorious because of Brandon's huge banner behind him. I don't know if you see that, Miles.
I can see that right there. I'm mating it and get sent to Brandon, so looks beautiful.
Love it. So Sunrise Dispensaries are really starting to become a big name here in Missouri. I love the location that you guys just opened in St. Louis off of Lindbergh.
Right.
And we have talked before, Miles, about your Maryville location.
Yeah.
And what a prime spot that is. How is the Sunrise part of the business going?
Yeah, really, really well. I think I was just looking at consumer data, like actually, I was reading on Greenway this morning the Q1 results. A nice gentle uplift for the entire market, around about 6%. So I was actually comparing ours to that, and I was very comfortable seeing our result. Long story short, all 5 locations are like humming along. We're very excited about as you mentioned before, Florissant. Like St. Louis is a wonderful metropolitan for us to capture. And like anything, when you first open it up, you have like your teething problems, you get it up and running, you start to get a little bit of awareness and penetration in market. And we opened up in December. We're starting to flow, and April was absolutely wonderful for us, acquired some good customers. And this summer, I think it's going to be a really remarkable year for Florissant. And then also we have our Sunrise Beach location down at the Lake of the Ozarks. And again, acquired that business at the end of summer last year. So we went through the absolute valley, and we're already on our way up. And Memorial Day is just around the corner, and we're gonna really capitalize down the lake this year. Very excited about it.
Have you been down to the lake?
Yeah, it's I'll speak candidly. I remember when I went there, and we stopped at. I don't mean to be vulgar or anything like that. It is a business down there, but Big Dick's halfway in, and I was just like, "What is this place down here?"
Right. Yes.
And then
that sums it up.
Yeah, but it's a really like. Before that, I'd watched the Ozarks. That's all I knew of it in terms of like reference points. And then being down there several times, particularly over the summer, it is just madness. Such a wonderful melting pot of tourism, local,
right,
and a huge opportunity for a lot of the cannabis brands down there to really like engage with the customer and let them have like a great time down at the lake.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of Notorious Flower going around down there, but we also have. I've been hearing some rumblings about something called Flower Power.
Yeah, good.
Can we talk about this?
Yeah,
please.
We can. We've been working on Flower Power for the last year. Okay. And like, no word of a lie, we did over just under 400 consumer feedback surveys of people trying. I think we went through 6 different rounds of flavor iterations, as well as testing efficacy, as well as testing the bite. We literally had something talking about the consistency of the bite. Like after all that surveys, after capturing all that data, we were able to like pump out like what I consider like one of Missouri's like most delicious gummies. But the way that we've priced it is also Missouri's like milligram for milligram best value gummy in all of the state. So we're really excited. We're not compromising like anything in terms of like we're using a distillate that has a 98% or more purity. We've got wonderful minor cannabinoids that go along with it. And then we did our homework. We researched the 10 most popular flavors specific to the Midwest, and we've leveraged those. So customers are liking it. We've also made them like there's all the minor cannabinoids. So if you want something that's going to be uplifting, we've got a product that's jam-packed with CBG. If you want something that's going to be a little bit more relaxing, we're leaning into obviously a beautiful 1-to-1 ratio of THC to CBD. And then night time, we've got our blue raspberry CBN mixture, and It's only been it's been exclusively sold at our Sunrise dispensaries at the moment. We're just like wetting our toes, letting our core customers come into the fold and give us like some really good feedback. And we launched in April, which is a prime time for any cannabis brand, and we outpaced our sales nearly like 1.5 times what I had ambitiously sort of forecast. So really stoked about it. And that's just the tipping point. We've got plenty more iterations of the product and coming up the pipeline.
So aside from, as far as the popular flavors in the Midwest, aside from blue raspberry, and I know you guys have mozzarella cheese stick dipped in ranch and chicken tender, because those are obviously the most Midwest flavors you can get.
Yeah, and also any beer-related one as well. That's what we're trying to. Bring it together.
What are some of the other flavors that you guys have or are going to be rolling out? And would you and I have had this discussion, offline several times. Would you like to talk at all about some of the growing pains that have come along with packaging regulation and the amount of work that went into that?
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with the first thing. Like in terms of flavors, we actually have we're launching Flower Power as like a good, better, best model. So we've got a really great foundational gummy that we're getting into market that's going to be customer friendly based on their wallet, based on flavor preferences, and also preferred dosages. That's one thing that we really nailed down. Weirdly enough, in the survey, we found out that from nearly 400 people, they were saying like their preferred amount to consume per session was anywhere between with a gummy, it was anywhere between 50 to like 150. And so we've got gummy. For me, like I'd be ground control to Major Tom. I'd be on Mars, looking down at Earth, like having an out of body moment. But so we actually have, and then there's also the customers such as me who likes like 20 milligrams. At a Yankees baseball game, sitting in the bleachers, like I'm having the time of my life. Like, sign me up. That's heaven. So we have rolled out SKUs that accommodate customer preferences. Like we have this for $45, you can get 500 milligrams of this delicious gummy, and it's $20 cheaper than the next competitor that's selling at 500. So we're really proud about that. But in terms of the flavors, we've got some fun ones coming up based on like root beer, Mountain Dew. We're launching a soda exclusive line that's going to be live resin, and I'm pretty excited about that. And the flavors that we're testing with Sprite at the moment, it's in its R&D phase. We've actually got 10 flavors that are being internally worked on right now. But like hopefully by the end of summer, if all things go well with DHSS, we can have this product in market. But to your point, Brandon, like it hasn't been easy on the packaging side of things. Like we've got, I'll give you a little look here. This is some of the stuff that we're cooking up right now. These beautiful like embossed tins and things like that. We've had to do like 3 or 4 iterations with DHSS. Sometimes by the time it has been approved, there's been a change, and we're like, oh, good grief. Let's put the reset button. That being said, like last year was tough with like getting regulation and getting up to speed with compliance and regulations. Working with DHSS this year, I'm not saying it because they've paid me or anything like that. It is getting easier.
I've noticed that. I can agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Turnaround times, approval times, we used to wait anywhere between 60 to 120 days. We're having some things turned out within like 3 weeks. So I think we've gotten over that hill, and now there's some great downward momentum.
Good.
Yeah.
I've noticed that as well. Miles, tell us about Miles. Because you are so intriguing. Every time I talk, I really want to have like a deep dive into how you got here. You're in New York right now, correct?
Yep, in Manhattan. Yeah, Westfield.
Okay, and you were born in Alabama.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
From my thick Southern accent. No, my accent's a little further south than that. Originally from Australia, I moved to New York 10 years ago. I will be 10 years on July 4th.
Okay.
Here's something fun. don't move to a new city thinking it's going to be like America's birthday on July 4th, like New York. When I landed here, it's a ghost town. There's no one around July 4th. Everyone's out of the town. Everyone's enjoying the Hamptons or going somewhere else. And I got here, I was like, for the city that never sleeps, people seem to be sleeping. But no, came out here 10 years ago. Bought a one-way ticket. I just finished some schooling, and I thought I'd give it a chance. I'll probably stay in New York for a year and then go back home because I love the beach. You don't really get that here in New York. And fast forward 10 years, I've got a wife, I've got a kid. We're trying to figure out how on earth we're going to, we've got a baby on the way, I should say, how we're going to have the baby in this shoebox apartment. It's been a wonderful opportunity, the US, to work and learn.
That sounds like I can solve multiple of your problems right now. Kansas City and St. Louis have hella good 4th of July celebrations. Cost of living is like 1/8 for an apartment here as to what it is in Manhattan, especially. And you know, the fireworks in certain places year round. Also, Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the same type of beach, but there's a whole lot of waterfront, just a hop, skip, and a jump away. You're already rocking the black or the blue and white Kansas City 816 Sunrise jersey, so it seems like you just missed the mark by about 6 or 7 states. You just needed to be a Midwesterner instead of a New York guy.
Look, what I'm picking up is
you would have been just as at home, a little bit farther away than the Subway Series, but we do have an NL and an AL team here. In Missouri, we do have one that has significantly more championships than the other one.
Hey, Miles, I've always wondered this. Working in a state that has completely different situation with rules, with how it's regulated there. I mean, you're in New York, which I feel like is fairly secondary to how Missouri's program is working over here. Different rules and all that kind of stuff. What is it like going to a dispensary there, knowing that it's a completely different situation in Missouri, or is it?
Yeah, it sort of is. Like, the one thing that I'll give New York credit for is like the dispensaries that have opened up, especially around like New York City, are a wonderful like shopping experience. Like there is like customer experience is like at a real North Star there. Now it comes at a cost. Like what I would be paying for my products in Missouri are a lot more expensive in New York. That's somewhat expected based on the city and people's spending behaviors here. From a regulation side of things, I thought like I remember going to the first couple of town halls, like when licenses were being discussed about 5 years ago now. I'm not sure if you guys are aware. I'm sure you are, but like the first licenses were given to those who had been incarcerated in New York for cannabis convictions.
Okay.
And it was like I thought from an equity side of things and also like a fairness side of things, the way that New York was approaching it was brilliant. Conceptually, great idea. The way that they've rolled it out, like absolutely piecemeal, that compared to like what I would say Missouri, chalk and cheese. Missouri as an operation in terms of regulation, really straightforward. Now, it is like what I would describe somewhat as like a nanny state. There is like rules after rules after rules after rules, but that is to the benefit of the customer and ensuring safety with product. But I love that there is a fixed amount of licenses in the state. There's a certain amount of licenses any operator can hold. And because of that, you try and mitigate any chance of monopolies or anything as such. And it's sort of like a land grab. And I think like you mentioned the Maryville store. It's like fantastic having like a location like that it can appease customers from Iowa, from Nebraska. And so like the two are very different. The two have their strengths and some areas of improvement, but it's been great being in New York seeing how it's done here, seeing how it's done there. I used to have a startup that we used to work with Colorado, Massachusetts, New York, and Arizona. And that was like trying to manage that as to work a brand in 4 different states as a small startup was an absolute nightmare. So being lucky enough to learn a little bit along the way and just understand like not everything's perfect, and that's fine.
How was your, like, you obviously didn't come from cannabis. I know we've talked previously about some of the marketing and branding stuff that you've done in the past.
Yep.
How did you weave your way into cannabis?
I used to work in alcohol for a big conglomerate called Pernod Ricard. They've got like the Glenlivet, Jameson's, Absolute, Kahlua, Malibu, Champagne and wine. And as much as I loved working there, I used to be a part of the innovations team. And in 2017, 2018, 2019, non-alcoholic products were really starting to become in vogue. It wasn't like a dirty word. It was fine to get like what people would like. You can go to New York and you can get a mocktail for $18 at some places, which is ludicrous now. But it's acceptable back then. Like people would laugh you out of the bar if you asked for a mocktail. But working in alcohol, seeing consumer trends with like enjoying social events, trying to have like a wonderful, potentially like an after work drink or something like that. I just noticed that, look, there's opportunity for more non-alc side of things. A mate of mine, he has a creative agency, and we put our heads together and we actually launched. It's still in market. It's actually the world's most awarded cannabis-infused beverage called Flyers Cocktail Co. So I think last time I checked, probably over like 50 awards from like the London Spirits Competition, the New York Gold Guild Spirits Competition, like you name it, we've entered it, we've either won it or have like placed. And you can find Flyers. I don't want to say it's the dirty word, but in Missouri, it would be controversial. It is a hemp-infused beverage as well as marijuana-infused in regulated states. But we're probably in 3,200 stores now throughout the states, and it's just growing and growing and growing.
Holy cow.
I exited out of the company. I still have a stake in it, but I'm not involved on the ops side anymore. But that's how we first got started. We saw that there was an opportunity to lean into the non-alc side of things. Consumer trends, like Gen Z is drinking less alcohol than any other generation before it. Cannabis is a wonderful, healthy, I consider healthy, safe, and better vice for a lot of those customers. So that's how we got involved.
That's one of the things you and I have talked about a few times is I have a 15-year-old and I have an 18-year-old, and we've had the discussion that my 15-year-old has expressed zero interest in alcohol or cigarettes, not really any interest in cannabis.
Yep.
Really either. Like the novelty of it is not like, oh, this is a crazy or forbidden thing.
Yep.
But his friends and his friend group and most of the kids his age are much more interested in mushrooms and cannabis and things that they feel are natural, or at least, less harmful long-term to your system than alcohol and tobacco and cocaine and prescription drugs and things like that. Outside of hardcore drug abuse, recreational use is not toxic, for most of these kids anymore, because they're not consuming literal toxins a lot of times.
100%.
Obviously we have the discussion, make sure you know where things are coming from, be careful, be safe, especially with the rise of fentanyl and things like that. But kind of across the board, it's moving in the it sounds very silly, but in the same way that in the late 90s and early 2000s, we started going to organic and then Whole Foods and things like that for our actual food, we're kind of going the same direction for the things that we look towards for relaxation, fun, inebriation, and things like that. We're getting farther and farther away from, you know, the manufactured, over manufactured preservatives and things like that. And kids are realizing that some of this stuff is literal poison and toxin, and that it's intoxicating because it is toxic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a remarkable world these days. Like I firmly attribute it to the accessibility to information. Like I remember when I first started drinking, if I saw something that said 0 calories on it, I'm like, that okay, is that good or bad? Like what does that mean to me? And now I look at it, it's like one of the strongest call to actions or unique selling propositions for a lot of alcohol out there. And I think it's like because customers are far more attuned to what their body needs to function with because of the access to information. The other thing is just like, I like a hangover as much as the next person. Like they just suck. And like personally for me, I'm a little older these days. I don't go out and party, but when I do go out now, like, there's plenty of bars in New York that are serving cannabis infused beverages. They're using hemp, like they're making hemp-based cocktails and stuff like that. And it's just like an absolute treat for me when I walk into an establishment like that, because I know I can have a good time. I might like get a little chatty, or I might get a little in my own head, but I know the next morning when I wake up, I'm going to be completely fine. I'm going to be able to function as I want, and I'm going to be able to enjoy the most of my day. So, yeah, Brandon, it's true. Like, I think kids are smarter than they've been previously. Like in terms of like knowing what's good for them, what's not, and sort of choosing alternatives outside of alcohol, which is awesome.
I would say to the thing you just said that a lot of the kids his age and close and in that group, you know, a little bit older, you know, early college years and things like that, they actually seem to be more educated about cannabis specifically and cannabis beverages and things like that than a lot of the adults that are going in, because
100%.
to your point, one of the things that alcohol is pretty fast acting.
Yep.
You know, as far as ingestion to intake to enactment, cannabis is not whenever it's ingested.
Yeah.
And even the fastest, you know, nanoparticle infused, anything like that, the fastest that you're going to see results is 15 to 20 minutes, but those results may ramp up over the next hour or two. And I think one of the reasons that we're having problems with not just hemp, but you know, in general, with bridging that gap between restaurant service and home consumption, is because in the same way that we talk a lot of times about how some bud tenders are undereducated, if the people that are working in dispensaries are undereducated and don't have a firm enough grasp on, you know, how long this is going to take effect and how it interacts with food and other things, it's going to be really hard to then educate a bartender and have them educate a consumer in the moment and things like that. So I think we really do need to focus on that consumer outreach, those education initiatives again, because what I've seen happen a few times, which is any time is too many, but I've seen it happen more than a few times personally, so that means it's happening a lot, is people consuming 1 or 2 cannabis drinks in the same amount of time that they would consume 1 or 2 alcohol drinks. Thinking that they're not experiencing anything, or that it's not hitting, and then by the time they're halfway through a third drink, they're gone. Not a little drunk, not a little buzzed, they are gone. And it's because the another thing that goes along with this, 12% beer versus 30%, 30% Cosmopolitan or something like that, some mixed drink, is a completely different story than 5 milligrams versus 20 milligrams.
Yeah.
Because in those percentages, you're moving up, everybody's like, oh, 12 to 30, a little bit more potent and things like that. But what they're not realizing is that in cannabis, those 5 milligrams, even though you're only moving up 5 more milligrams, you're doubling it if you went to 10. If you go to 20, that's 400% more than what you were consuming before. That's 4 shots back to back to back to back to back at one time that aren't going to hit your system for like 45 minutes. And you're like, well, I don't feel anything. And we always make fun because we're educated. We always make fun of the way that people react to cannabis and things in movies and on television. Oh, but if you've ever seen somebody that it's their literal first rodeo, and they've gotten massively overserved or over imbibed, that really is that experience, because it's such an unfamiliar, uncertain experience. You have a body high you've probably never experienced. You have a clearness of thought that you rarely get with any other kind of like alcohol or anything like that. But at the same time, your functionality is very askew. And so people don't realize that they look like, they're having a trip, because they feel like they're in the moment and they're cognitive, but it's just a whole different experience that if that's your first time. If you did it the right way and you ramped up, you built up your tolerance, you're fine. But in the same way that if you were to consume the amount of alcohol that it would take to get you to that experience your first time, you would probably throw up or have alcohol poisoning. And we've all seen that with people before, where they get really, really crazy, really, really stupid. Then all of a sudden they start throwing up and they sleep it off. The difference is with cannabis, especially if you took it in edible form, you don't have to throw up, because you may not have taken anything else. There may be nothing but water and vegetables in your stomach and one, gummy this big around, and you are just gone and flying. I think that education, both consumer and product handler, are the biggest obstacles we have to truly achieving normalcy, because the more you see people being overserved, the more it sets back that conversation of, this is totally fine, this is totally safe, everything's great, and then you see, Sally, who is a 37-year-old soccer mom and a CPA, and she's the loveliest person at PTA, and somebody gave her a 500 milligram gummy for her first time. And Sally is now, punching car windows and stuff because she believes that she's She-Hulk.
No, you're 100% right. I think alcohol has had the luxury since Prohibition. There's like nearly 100 years of education. I'm sure you guys would be similar to me. Like, unfortunately, with recreational, like anything that you may take on a recreational basis, sometimes that first time is a baptism of fire. I remember the first time I had a 6-pack of beer, and I was like losing every like bit of my stomach content. And then I just remember, like, okay, this is how I'll pace myself. The hardest thing I feel with cannabis is like, because if you have too much, there's a propensity to actually have like anxiety or a strong degree of fear. It could be like a one and done. And like, because of that, like that Sally She-Hulk moment that you mentioned, Brandon, she's probably never going to go back to it. And I feel like that's why it's so important to really have like bud tenders have to be like, they have to be wonderful evangelists, not only for a product, but for the actual cannabis category itself. We were talking about this just 2 days ago, Brandon, where it comes to like the race to potency. And I was like, that's fine. But you don't like go to a bar and say, that's it. Where's the best value I can find is the most high, like high proof alcohol I can drink. But in cannabis, that's what that's what we see. And I think like we actively at Sunrise make sure like our bud tenders, they're brilliant. Like they know products like the back of their hand. And I take great pride in when I hear someone talk about Pharma G and they're like, you know what? This isn't like 30 plus potency. Like it's punching right now. There's THC potency of 22%, but it's complemented with like 5.5% of these 3 terps. And you combine all of those together, you're going to have this wonderful entourage effect. You're going to have something that's so much more robust than just getting like high as hell. And I get stoked when I see bud tenders doing that. I also get, like, to your point, Brandon, there's plenty of opportunities to make it a little bit better. And as brand owners and operators, like we have to ensure there's the right sort of education tools for bud tenders to actually advocate for safe consumption.
Miles, do you see anything right now in the market that's exciting you, whether it's innovation, technology, any sort of new product developments? Is there anything out there right now kind of like you're excited about?
Yeah, I think innovation is epic because cannabis, like in Missouri especially, it's in its infancy. It's only been around like less than like the number of fingers I've got on my hand. And like when you come to market for first time, you see like the tried and tested ways. That's where your best bets are going to be. But like I remember being at a MoCan event last December, I think it was, or November, and seeing like, is it for me? No, but does it have me like remembering it every day when we talk about innovation? Yeah, it was infused toothpicks. And I was just like, this is insane. Like, what are we like? I'm going to have a delicious steak dinner. I'm going to chew on some ribs. And then afterwards, I'm going to use these infused toothpicks. I think innovation gets me so psyched. Like I look at Old Pal is a really, like, I love Old Pal and I love, especially actually Kiva. They did something I always admire is like Thanksgiving, probably like 3 years ago now. I think they rolled out what was it? It was a turkey gravy that was infused. It was the gravy had 100 milligrams in there, and basically like they told you a couple of teaspoons on your turkey, you're going to have infused like turkey. And is it for me like every day? No chance in hell. But if I was a consumer and I had a little extra cash, I'd be like, that's something that's going to be fun. There's novelty there. We're excited internally because we're just looking at new, like on the ingestible side of things, trying to figure out like any live rosin, resin, full spectrum products that can be brought into fold. Personally, for me, I champion for like anything that could be adaptogenic or nootropic. I really feel like when you talk about cannabis, like full spectrum, and you've got that wonderful entourage effect, like imagine throwing some cordyceps in there and maybe like a little bit of lion's mane to really enhance like what that effect could be for the customer. And so there are things that I see in market. There are things like there's opportunities out there that I dare say we're not even thinking about. Like I truly see, I walk down like a grocery store aisle and I'm like, you know what? Microdose pretzels. Would that be something for Sunday football fans? And like half a milligram or a milligram per pretzel and have 100 pretzels in a bag. Like what can be done out there? What like everyday items can potentially be like transformed to be recreational and fun for cannabis? And the world's our oyster. I think it's such a malleable product that can be like incorporated into so many
cannabis infused oysters. Absolutely.
Done. I don't want to hang around you on that night, but that sounds great.
Hey, the party vibes with the shirt. It's spring now. We're out of cardigan season. We're out of cardigan season. We're into dad's summer shirts now. So I'm just saying, pineapples and oysters, like here we go.
Let's do it.
As Miles might say, if we were at a barbecue. Hey guys, enjoy the barbecue.
You're dancing with the devil right there, Brandon.
Right, I know.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I think like innovation, like we're just at the tipping point. We've got tried and tested like pre-rolls, flour, ingestibles, concentrates, but they can be broken down and incorporated into so many other facets. And so that's what I'm really There's a couple of brands that do it, like Old Pal. They've got that brownie mix, which I just feel like it's just so, it looks like a Betty Crocker box, but it's like 100 milligrams. It's an easy baked brownie. Like, we internally, like you guys, I'm sure enjoy it as well. Infused butter. We're just like, is this a commercially viable product? And like, maybe not, but like, there's a novelty factor there. There's something that there would be a customer who would see that and like jump at the opportunity to see what it works, how it will function.
I mean, we have Cannabis Inc. here in Missouri that does infused ghee, infused olive oil, infused coconut oil, I think is one of the ones that they do. But they have an entire line called Ingredient that is just things made to cook with. One of the reasons that High Five Stirrables have been so successful is because they've taken something that you can add to your drinks, but they've also heavily promoted the fact that you can add it to essentially anything without really impacting the flavor a lot. We just did a recipe for an infused cheesecake for patients a couple weeks ago that the entire recipe was written with High Five Stirrables in mind. And you take 4 High Five Stirrables that are 5 milligrams a piece, and you wind up being able to cut it into slices and know your dosage essentially. It's awesome to see what we have as far as products in the Missouri space and in the Missouri market. And it's really exciting to see companies like you, like Agri-Genesis, with brands like Notorious and Farmer G and Flower Power and Willie's Reserve and your dispensary chain with Sunrise, being able to say, hey, there's opportunities to create and change and move forward. And one of my favorite things about your tenure at Agri-Genesis, I'm sure it was not the easiest or most fun part, but as a gummy consumer, I have truly appreciated how much thought and research and development went into the execution of those gummies that you guys have been working on, because I was one of the people that got one of the first forms that asked, what do you like in a gummy? And it was I think 15, 20 questions, something like that. And it was like, what are the things you like? What are the dosages you like? What are the things you dislike? Why do you like, what's your favorite? Why do you like it that way? And it took into account, it was asking for input from everybody. And you guys have done something that, not, in my opinion, not enough companies do, is go directly to the consumer for market research. And I, that's hard in a regulated industry, but I think that that's a place where people keep reinventing the same product in the same way. And as a consumer, there's only so many times I can have the same flavor profile, and it's made out of the same mixture, and it's cut in the same shape, and it's the difference between this one and this one is how it's cut, or the size of the milligram, or this one's 500 milligrams, but you can cut it into 7 different slices. I don't want to cut it into 7 different slices. I just want one that I can eat and enjoy, and my favorite products are the ones that fit me best. And I feel like you guys in this sense really took into account who your existing customers are and who your future consumers might be. And I think that's a target that is sometimes missed, is we keep redoing the same thing and just trying to be a little bit better at doing the same thing, instead of just going to someone and saying, hey, just out of curiosity, what would you like?
It's I was chatting with Bob yesterday, CEO of Agri-Genesis, and we were talking like objectively, like for 2025, it's always one of our strongest priorities, but we put the customer at the front of every decision. So regardless if it's new product or innovation, or if you're walking into our store, we try and be empathetic and understand, like, depending on Missouri's wonderful, so diverse, so many different customer segments that we can focus on. But we have to put their priorities and their interests and need states first before, like, there's some innovations that I would love to do. But I can tell you right now, it's not going to be like for everyone's cup of tea. And because of that, it's not going to be a viable product. So we really do prioritize customer. And it's from new gummy flavors to efficacy across all different, like looking at different terp profiles, especially for flower, trying to figure out like what concentrates are going to be most important to the customer, to even like what we say to the customer when they're leaving the store. Like we make sure we're trying to ensure like everything is focused on that customer, because we know like there's only a certain amount of dispensaries that you're allowed in the state. Building like a strong like understanding of who your customer is and accommodating their needs will mean like it's a strong, I guess, like factor in terms of determining your success or not. And so as long as we're like always being mindful of having the customer top of mind for us, we feel confident like they're probably going to really like the brands or the shopping experience or the general look and feel of like Agri-Genesis and its brands underneath it, and come back. And that's what we really do sort of focus on at the moment, is our customer.
On the marketing side of stuff, if we can get into that, like,
Let's do it.
I know it's it's difficult to do certain forms of marketing in cannabis and in Missouri, but a lot of the times, as a creative, I kind of see that as a challenge. And I mean, you brought up Old Pal.
Yeah.
I know of them because somebody gave me a business card that you could plant.
Yeah.
And it turns into a flower or whatever. Like, I got 2 of them and I planted one. I think it was a wildflower.
Yep.
And I was like, brilliant. I'll remember them forever.
Yeah.
Willie's Reserve. I got a wooden nickel that says Willie's Reserve, and I will always remember it. So like there are things that you can still do working within the guidelines, but a little outside, that still work and still resonate with the consumer. Have you had experiences like that, or do you have ideas coming up that are like that?
Like the regulations do make it hard. We're not allowed to we don't have the luxury like any other CPG category really has. Like, it's far more stringent than even alcohol. But there are ways, like in Missouri especially, like you see like creative workarounds. Like at the moment, we're talking about a soda flavor line where we're exploring some packaging. I can't really say what it is just yet, but the packaging would be the first child-resistant pack in the States ever, and it's just going to like disrupt the shelf space dramatically. Like it will be such a fun thing to even see, and to know that it's actually cannabis inside of there is going to be like a wonderful experience. I think like because of like there's some roadblocks, you just have to find other opportunities and other avenues to go. So like innovation is a really wonderful way for us to actually think about marketing. Like, what innovative products are going to capture that mind share of the audience and get them excited. Packaging, again, like to Brandon's point, there is a lot of homogeny. Like, the only difference may be flavor or brand, but packaging can be a really good way. Like, my biggest bugbear is like in this category, we have a lot of packaging that you use it once and you throw it away. And it's like, I'm not in any means like saying like I'm Mr. Green and I like we have to be as sustainable as possible. But I do love having packaging that can actually be used like for other purposes once you've actually consumed the goods there. And that's like one thing where we love to explore. On the paid side of things, it's tough. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, but we've got some really good third-party agencies that have been very disruptive with our programmatic advertising, and we've been with them for nearly 18 months now, and month over month, we're seeing much better performance based on the ads that we are spending. And then because of these regulations, you get down and dirty, like how marketing would have been back in the 80s and 90s. Just like, say, imagine that there's no internet. How are we going to get to the customer? And like letterbox drops, like in-store activations, like random pop-ups at like farmers markets. They're the sort of stuff that are going to get like you in front of the customer immediately, capture their awareness, and if it's said right and if it offers them something that is going to be of use, like there's a good chance that they're going to come to the store. So we've got some harebrained ideas that we're going to be rolling out for summer around the Lake of the Ozarks, and it is like, it's truly like, I was challenging the marketing department, which is at Agri-Genesis, 2 people. And I was just like, how are we going to make sure, like, imagine we're in the 80s. What are we going to be doing that can win over the customer? And not only does it get us around like a lot of these regulations that are associated with online advertising, it also is like very nostalgic. Like, what can we do that is going to be like if kids were riding BMX back then, like what do we, not kids, but like if people are enjoying like the lake life, getting out there fishing, like what can we do that's going to mirror that experience back then and potentially that customer as well? So
Hey,
we're getting crafty.
I've got 2 for you, free right off the bat.
Hit me.
2 of them, and it all starts at one central point. You need to start a gang. And by starting a gang, then that opens the door for tagging other dispensaries in the area with your graffiti tags, and then challenging like Latitude and Bud Dispensary to like step up electric boogaloo style like breakdancing battles, and then whoever wins, all the customers follow them back to their dispensary. So
it sounds like I'm watching Wild Style right there. It's
outside the box.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have noticed that
nothing
with
in DCR
all
regulations says you can't start a gang.
Really?
Just throwing it out there.
I have noticed that there are ways, or that with the restrictions and kind of that stuff, people are going back to the days of handing out flyers and all that kind of stuff. I recall, I used to work in music, and there's a street in St. Louis, Del Mar, that has at the time at least 2 or 3 record stores on it. And so I was working with this band, and I made these stickers that were the size of a quarter and that talked about their album coming out. And I put them on quarters, and I went and filled all of the parking meters with those quarters, so people would come out and be like, wait a minute, what, or I'd go up to them and be like, hey, here, fill your meter, it looks like it's coming up. And they'd be like, oh, okay, cool, wait, what is this? Oh, there's a record store. So like I just started like coming up with these just hand-to-hand combat marketing ideas, and I feel like I've been seeing a little bit more of that now because of how hard it is to get in front of people
to stand out
working in cannabis.
Oh, 100%. Like we just we participated recently in the St. Louis Mardi Gras parade, and we could have gone like the path of least resistance and worked with an agency and get the 10 by 10 booth and stand with everyone beside us, and that comes at a cost. And I was just like, guys, like, let's think, like, to your point, Tim, about hand-to-hand combat. I was just like, how would we do this if we didn't have this budget, but we still wanted to acquire that customer and be in front of them? What ended up was like we got 4 staff, we decked them out, and I'll show you this here. This is our look. I've got props for today. This is our it's our Sunrise St. Louis Blues jersey, but they were wearing that. The Blues are obviously killing it this year, so people are already looking at them. And we had product samples that we would give. We actually had 1,000 product samples that we marched down the parade with, and gave it to anyone who was of age, who was interested in cannabis. And I think we also had a QR code that had another discount that would drive them to the store. Like they'd get a fantastic pre-roll, but they could actually, using this QR code and coupon, if they went to the store, they'd actually get a penny eighth. And that just went off like wildfire. We acquired, I think, from that weekend's events, 250 new customers that we would have never been in front of previously. And sure enough, we might have got a little fraction of that if we were in that 10 by 10 booth, but we would have been competing against everyone else. But that day we went out there, and and did like what we wanted to do, like find the customer, meet them where they are, as opposed to draw them to trying to get them to come to us. And it crushed it. Like we talk about internally here, we actually use an example that Nike does against Adidas. So Adidas has the rights to the World Cup. Bought the several $1 billion for 50 years. So as soon as you go into the stadium, it's Adidas everywhere you look around. When the World Cup was being held in Brazil, like this is probably like 10 years ago now, Nike did this really fun thing where a year in advance, all the car parks that like the people who were going to the thing, they actually sectioned off. They bought an area of the car park and they created these awesome, like very interactive Nike soccer fields. They were showcasing the soccer boot that some of the stars would be wearing, that they were just about to watch. And what it actually meant was like people who were going to the World Cup would be thinking black and blue about Nike before they even stepped in there. And so by the time they're in there watching the football, even though it's like adorned with Adidas everywhere, the customer had already had like a great personal interaction with Nike. That's what we're trying to do at Sunrise. Like we're not as big as like there's Good Day Farms, there's Codes, there's plenty of other multi-store operators in the state that have a bigger like footprint than us. And that just means like we get to be a little bit more creative and crafty in terms of like trying to appease that customer and win them.
One of my favorite things that you guys have done over the last couple of years is, to the Blues jersey, the Kansas City Royals jersey that you have. You guys take, to Tim's point, the, inside the box of regulation, but outside the box of what everybody else is doing. So it kind of becomes like a Venn diagram of like everybody else is doing this. Regulation says you can do this, and you guys are just this little sliver right here of like, we're gonna stretch the boundary, but we're going to operate inside the rules, and we're going to, use iconic imagery and color palettes and things like that everybody else is already used to. And we're going to ingrain the things they love with us.
Yeah.
And I think that's brilliant. I have the Sunrise Cardinals jersey. But even the Notorious banner, black, white, just a simple, basic thing with, the writing style and stuff. And I think you guys just tend to appeal to people's sentiment and heart with things that they already have positive feelings about.
Yeah, I think like Missouri's awesome because I've actually never been to such a sports mad state. Like you've got your football, you've got your hockey, you've got your two baseball teams. As we were touching on before, like customer is like the North Star, like at the top of the totem pole for us. When you focus on customer, you also focus on community. And like that's where we're like, we know Missourians are very like they're a proud Midwestern customer out there. Like let's understand what really drives them, like what gives them a sense of pride, and like sports is a huge thing for them, and hence we identified that last year. We rolled out these jerseys, and the beauty of the jerseys, like it's a simple enough plan, and there's plenty of other dispensaries out there that have had their variants of it. But like our jerseys are made from the same factory that Nike makes theirs, so like they're the exact same quality. They're absolutely wonderful. And we sort of drive this sense of scarcity. Like you sort of have to earn it as opposed to pay for it. Now you can go into store and you can buy it, but it's a quality item, so you have to pay it for a reasonable price for it. Or for the customer out there, like we have one thing that we've noticed in the state, actually, from a promotion side of things, we don't want to go the path of like Oklahoma, where it's just a race to the bottom, like just trying to cut price, just to run someone out of like a war of attrition leads to very few winners. So what we're trying to do with a lot of our promotions is like offer bundling deals where they can like spend more, get more back. And like these jerseys, if you spend at any of our stores, it's a big ticket item. It's like if you spend $250, you'll get one of these jerseys on the house. So it's sort of earned, not bought. And it's like we've noticed, the jerseys take forever to make. They're custom crafted for us. And yesterday I was chatting with our head of retail, and he was like, "Yo, we're out of XLs." And I was like, "We just got like 400 XLs like only 3 or 4 weeks ago." And it's proving to us that customers like really value that. It also protects our margins. It protects our promotions. We're not just like cutting our nose to spite our face. Like, we're getting a customer who's walking out spending more, but because they're spending more, they're getting an absolute, like, they feel like they're getting wonderful value because that's what they're getting. They're getting wearables. They're getting greater product at a better price the more they spend. So yeah, the market's interesting. Community's great, and focusing on customer and just like trying to meet them where they are, is really important for us.
You guys have also done some really cool promotions as far as last year you had the briefcase promotion
Yeah.
right around 420.
Yeah.
You know, I think you guys just continually find ways to you know, be creative. We had Tony Billmeyer from Vivid and Show Me Organics on recently. I think that they're another really good example of a company that just finds ways, and that's what a large part of our conversation was finding ways to differentiate their brands.
Yeah.
And to create community activation. And I think that's one of the things that makes operations more successful than necessarily just having the lowest prices or having the biggest sale or whatever it happens to be. That's great, but at the end of the day, if you ever have to raise your prices, or if you ever hit a market medium where everybody catches up to you as far as price, you no longer have anything to differentiate you. And
100%.
I think Show Me Organics and Agri-Genesis are not alone in that. Kind Goods, you know, there's a list of companies that have figured out different ways where none of you are doing the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
but you're all achieving the same result, which is to create your own consumer base that's rooted in community, and it's rooted in culture, and it's rooted in whatever happens to be that demographic that most creates brand loyalty for you guys. And so I'm super excited to see Flower Power and how that goes on.
Yeah.
I know Tim has a couple other questions, and I've been rambling all day, so I
No, you're
apologize.
good.
But I've been a big fan of everything you guys have done. I'm excited to see what happens with the lake this year. I know we've talked in the past about some cool promotional ideas and stuff that you guys have in mind for down there. So
Yeah, we can't. We're excited. I think definitely community for us is a huge focus this year, and engaging that community at the lake is definitely one of our like priorities. And yeah, we're chatting with. The cool thing is we're working with other third parties. Like, we were chatting with Proper yesterday about like potential partnerships down there. Like, the cool thing about cannabis, especially in Missouri, it's not. Even though we are on paper competitors, there's a huge sense of camaraderie, and I haven't actually experienced that with any other state. There is like a sense of like, scratch our back, we scratch yours. Let's split this cost here. Like last year, a number of our activations were achievable because we were able to like split the cost with 1, 2, 3 different brands, and like collectively they're bringing their audiences, we're bringing our audience. There's this like the sum of its parts is actually a lot more when we're working together in that regard.
You know, I have really, really noticed that about this industry as well. And I'm not too familiar with other industries, and I guess I just assumed it's like that in other states. But there is a lot of collaboration here. To be honest, Brandon and I talk to all of the brands.
Of course.
There's not a lot of shit talking, and there just seems to be, like, what I always like to say, the people at the top are collaborating.
Yeah.
Like, because they get it. They understand that's what needs to happen. And I love that here. I mean, you go to a MoCan trade meeting and you're like, no one's avoiding people. There's like,
Yeah.
don't talk to them. Oh God. There's none of that. It's a very community atmosphere,
Oh, it's
which I love.
oh
So
yeah.
yeah. And So my question here,
Here we go.
because we have gotten into marketing
Mhm.
and branding, so my branding cup runneth over. But now I want to talk about you, Miles. One thing that we like to ask is, what is in your rotation right now? What are you listening to? Top
Oh, man,
3 things that you're listening to.
you guys are going to strike me down.
No shame.
Right. No, okay. As of last week, I was running. Oh, actually, no. I think they're pretty cool. Let's see how they go. The Velvet Underground.
Yeah.
Like, love listening, especially on a Sunday. It's actually how I start my Sunday. Velvet
Okay.
Underground, espresso. It's usually a pretty good day. John Prine. I'm not sure if you.
Yeah.
Oh, it just bury me to John Prine. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, and then
That's awesome.
on my Spotify last year, though, like my top 3 artists were like, and I didn't realize this. I love listening to classical music when working, and so like
Yeah. Sure.
Mozart is in there, Tchaikovsky, they're always there. And then being an Aussie who religiously watched like the skate videos and the surf videos from primarily New York and in California in the 90s and early 2000s, East Coast rap. So like things like a tribe called Quest, like
Yes.
De La Soul, like
Mm.
early Kanye ate it up. Like maybe a
Yeah.
controversial subject these days, but like that music like gets me going.
That is amazing.
Yep.
I 100% agree. I that time of hip hop was just spiritual. I really felt like the De La Souls, the Tribe Called Quest,
Yeah.
DOS Effects, like all of that kind of stuff just really I don't know. It struck a chord in me to where it just felt good. I could relate. It was just life. Oh man. Dude, I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah, the boom bap backpack rap, like that's like I'll always listen to that. I should say, I just realized Willie Nelson. Love listening to it. And I'm not just saying that, like
sure.
Funnily enough, the street where I live on in New York is actually where Bob Dylan has one of his album covers, and he was actually the first artist I ever saw when I was 16. I saved up as much as I could, and it felt like an unholy amount to me. But Bob Dylan was the first guy, so I'm all over the shop. Most people are, but yeah, like classic artists, a bit of rap, classical music, we're good to go.
Love it.
Favorite Australian band?
The layup would be AC/DC, but truthfully, it would be In Excess.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
In Excess is just like wildly cool to me. It was very funny, actually. My wife and her parents, they came down to Australia over Christmas, and I put on like all these Australian classic rock bands that like any Australian would be able to sing along to any of them. And I was like, have you heard of this? Have you heard of this? And I was mortified with how like there was no like I'm actually surprised AC/DC and In Excess even got out of Australia's like crosshairs because they didn't know anyone else. But I'm stoked to see that there's quite a strong like impact for some classic bands from Australia there.
Outside of NXS and AC/DC, give me a couple more that I may or may not know, because my favorite is the Distillers.
Oh, 100%. So Distillers, awesome. Who was I just about to say? Man, there is a Jet. So early, there's a Jet.
Okay, yeah,
Jet. It was a group called Wolf Mother. I'm not sure if they were huge here.
Mother's so good.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
When I was doing my undergrad, Wolf Mother like literally just permeated every hall, every wall, every chair there. Like it was just epic. And then there's a group called Bliss and Esso, which were like, I must admit, we were talking about like New York rap, East Coast rap, like the classics. Australia has its own rap scene, and even though it's hearing an Australian accent rap compared to like hearing like the nice dose, like
I can't
really
wait for
tones
this.
of like an American accent. It's pretty jarring, but Bliss and Esso and a group called the Hilltop Hoods were probably like two good groups. The Hilltop Hoods actually were humongous. And again, undergrad, like when I was listening to Kanye, I was listening to Hilltop Hoods. Like they were crushing it.
That's amazing.
I am so excited for this. I'm more
So am I.
excited for this
I'll
than
send you guys
Snow.
some like cherry picked songs just to give it a go.
Great. I got obsessed with an Australian metal band in the early 2000s called Sunk Lodo, and I just worshipped them. I had friends in Australia, and I'd have them send me CDs from the stores there, so I could, because just to get the unreleased stuff. So I mean, I really appreciate the Australian music. It's
I got really into Australian fashion. I love crocodile dungarees.
oh my God. Bye. Go ahead, Brandon. Ask your question.
Top five favorite favorite Australians.
Let's think here. I'll try and do it in order. I'll get a female representative straight off the bat. It's going to be Nicole Kidman. She's like a darling of Australia.
She was on my list.
Yeah, so she's really solid there. There's a woman actually called. I'll do this as fourth place. It's going to be. Her name is Ida Buttrose, and she's just like this kick-ass businesswoman who just sort of like whatever she focused on, she was able to like be a leader and a pioneer in. So she was in media for ages. She had fashion. She was sort of she's like the Barbara Walters of television. She's an Australian darling. I know who my number one is. I know who my number two is. Number three, no brainer here. It's a guy called Andrew Eddinghausen. Now, Andrew Eddinghausen, he was my favorite footballer. I grew up in a town called Cronulla. We've got a rugby team there. And Andrew Eddinghausen was just like, he was considered like Australia's best looking man. He was like incredibly polite. He was the guy, like we would go surfing and he'd be out there in the surf. We'd go fishing and he would be fishing. He was just like a man about town, super approachable, like looked like Brad Pitt before Brad Pitt was Brad Pitt, and had like people like Elle Macpherson chasing after him. And all he wanted to do was play rugby and fish and surf. Just a good down to earth guy. Number two, this one's it's Steve Irwin, an absolute must. He is
legend.
Absolute legend. Like it was
perhaps the greatest ambassador for any country of all time.
Oh my gosh. Like what an absolute stud of a man. Like to speak so positively of a country. Like there's not an American who doesn't know him. And I take great pride in that. And then the number one, sorry, I'm going deep cut Australians. There's people that I'm thinking
that's what we
Hugh
want.
Jackman would mean like somewhere in there, but like the deepest cut that I can say is a bloke called Bob Hawke as number one. And Bob Hawke, he was one of the longest serving prime ministers. So he's like president, our equivalent of. But Bob Hawke was a man of the people. So he was a Rhodes Scholar. He sort of shifted the Australian economy to where it is these days. But the fun stuff about Bob Hawke, he looked like a leather jacket. He refused to he used to rub his body with olive oil. And the Australian sun, you may or may not know this, but down in Australia, we have a huge hole in the ozone. So we have skin cancer rates 6 times higher than that of anywhere else in the world. Terrible. You get sunburnt as soon as you get out there. Bob Hawke, the sun didn't even bother him. He would put on olive oil. He'd go out there and he would just roast himself. He loved cricket. He loved playing golf, but the thing that really got him like the love and admiration of the Australian public was he has the Guinness World Record for drinking the fastest yard glass of beer. So you could put a pint in front of him, you could put a yard glass in front of him, and he's one of those guys that has like a gullet that just puts it down in one. He lived into his 90s, and still, even into his 90s, he used to go to the cricket. He'd be wearing his suit and the whole crowd would start chanting, Hawkey, Hawkey, Hawkey. Out of nowhere, a beer would miraculously like land in his hand and he'd turn to the crowd. He'd walk around. He'd work the audience, and then just down in one, that beer would disappear. Even
These are the kind of politicians we need to return to.
Oh,
people.
I know.
We
I know.
don't need divisive party
Does he have a
lines.
son anywhere?
We need international uniters.
I wish, but he has also now Sydney's most popular brewery and pub, and you can go in there. It's decked out like he was like the 80s when he was in politics. So there's a lot of burnt orange, like there's a lot of mahogany around there, mustard colored seats. The beer is priced as if it were in the 80s as well. And there's even a Chinese restaurant there that is decked out as if it were from the 80s. So it's like there's a lot of like royal reds, so many gold features everywhere, like just opulence on
complete with
opulence.
inappropriate
Really
cultural appropriation.
Yeah, it's a time capsule more than anything else. But
Hey,
Bob Hawke. You can ask any Australian about him. It doesn't matter your political preference.
Yeah.
He was
a good guy.
For people, yeah.
Yeah.
this guy sounds amazing.
I know. I can't wait to look him up.
Tim, what were you had your list of 5 favorite Australians. What were yours?
Oh no, I mean, you and I went through them, and we were pretty much right on most of them. Steve Irwin, obviously number one. I mean, that guy just meant so much to the people over here, and to be fair, his son is carrying the torch pretty freaking well, man.
Yeah,
I love seeing him, and he makes me emotional when I see him, because I see his dad in him so much, and his mom. But it's, man, just amazing.
Yeah,
Daughter
daughter too, Bindi, right? Yeah.
God,
what a human.
So we had Steve Irwin.
Great.
We did have Nicole Kidman.
Great.
We had Greg Norman.
Oh shit! I forgot Greg.
The shark. Yeah.
Oh man.
We had Greg Norman. And then we had
Hugh Jackman.
Nice.
We had Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
And then so that's 4, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember who the 5th one was originally, but I do know that I sometime in between I wrote down Kylie Minogue.
Oh, I was going to say Kylie.
She's Australian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love her.
Yeah, there's some...
and I don't know if he's Australian or if he's New Zealander, but new great representative of the continent of Australia, if he happens to be a New Zealander. Alexander Volkanovsky.
Ooh. I don't know. I'm going to say he's Australian just to take the credit, but
I know he's definitely from the continent of Australia.
He's down that neck of the woods. Yeah, 100% there. There's a couple these names now. Like there's a couple that are bringing to mind, but I feel like that's a pretty good snapshot that we've covered right there. There's like Mark Occhilupo, who was like a 2-time world surfing champ, Mick Fanning. Like there's a lot of surfing prowess that we could throw in there that might get a little too deep cut, but yeah, there's some good odds.
As you can tell by the skin complexion compared to yours, I don't know shit about surfing.
We'll have to get you down there.
I went out in the sun once. That's the end of that statement. Yeah, I don't fuck with that. Ireland is full of cloud cover, and I have migraines whenever I'm out in the sunlight. So, nah, I'm good. Give me sunglasses and an umbrella until it turns nighttime.
Perfect.
Miles, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries, guys.
We had a blast. This is exactly how I was hoping it would go.
Okay, good.
And thank you so much. We're really looking forward to Flower Power, everything you have going on, with the expansions of Sunrise, and Notorious especially, Farmer G, and Willie's Reserve. So looking forward to seeing how this summer turns out for you guys, and we will definitely be in touch. I want to have you back on for part 2, that's for sure.
Oh hell yeah! Well, I'm looking forward to that. We can list all the New Zealanders that we don't like, and then we're good to go. It will be a long list, but we'll go from there.
So not a fan of one of the questions I was going to pull into this, and Tim was like, "Don't ask him that." Are Australians at all like bothered by the fact that New Zealand has gotten so much shine since the launch of the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
We'll give him that one. It's sort of like, honestly, it feels, and my take, and I actually quite like New Zealand. It's just a lot of fun ribbing and things like that. But look, wonderful country. The one thing that we just have that they don't have is like a full set of teeth. But outside of that, it's all.
To be fair, you're going to have like the next 30 years worth of people growing up that are just like, oi, 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 Aussie, 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 because of Bluey. And
100%.
you know from personal experience that whenever you call and we're in the car and it pops up on Bluetooth, my children go, oh, Bluey's on the phone.
Yeah, he's a wonderful ambassador. And I'm not going to lie, that show is, I know it's for kids, but there is a lot of wonderful moral fiber that you get away when you walk away with after watching a Bluey episode.
Man, not only is it a great like just television series for children that you don't really get sick of and things like that. There's a lot of good lessons for kids, but there's also a lot of lessons for parents where you're watching an episode and you're like, man, like that perspective shift is really good. And then there's a couple episodes where like there's no talking throughout the entire episode. There's one where she's dreaming of like drifting through space and stuff like that. It's like a 10 or 12 minute episode. It's a little bit longer than a lot of the like short episodes. 9 o'clock at night, 9:30 at night, because I get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm an early guy. But Gummy, 15-20 minutes before that episode and go to sleep right as that episode ends. That's one of the most ethereal experiences as an adult that I've had. I mean, everybody talks about Pink Floyd's The Wall and lining it up with no, it's Dark Side of the Moon, not The Wall, but Dark Side of the Moon lining up with Wizard of Oz. That experience is nothing compared to a Gummy and an episode of Bluey right before bed. Man, I truly appreciate you as a friend. I enjoy hanging out with you. It's everything I've learned.
My little take real quick on Australian kid shows is my kids grew up in the Wiggles age. So we used to watch the Wiggles all the time. And I did notice, looking in your strain library, that you have a strain called Apples and Bananas, which was a huge Wiggles song. I was curious if they were connected.
No, but look, you're giving me ideas. Mashed potatoes coming out pretty soon.
Mashed potatoes. I love it. Miles, thank you so much, buddy.
Likewise,
we will be in touch. I appreciate you joining us today.
Awesome. An absolute treat.